On a serene Sunday afternoon, August 27, 1967, a group of skydivers gathered with anticipation at Ortner's Airfield near Wakeman, Ohio. It was a day they had eagerly awaited, a chance to dive from an altitude of 20,000 feet, an extraordinary opportunity in the sport of skydiving. However, what began as an adventurous leap into the skies turned into one of the most devastating tragedies in the sport's history. This is the chilling story of the Lake Erie skydiving disaster. The skydivers, 17 in total, hailed from various parts of Ohio, converging for what was supposed to be a thrilling and unforgettable experience. Originally scheduled for the morning, the jump had been delayed due to cloud cover. As the afternoon cleared, the group boarded a converted B-25 bomber and prepared for their long-anticipated jump. Another plane, piloted by Huron native Ted Murphy, accompanied the B-25. Murphy's plane carried 2 photographers intending to document the event. Overhead, the Cleveland Hopkins radar control tower approved the jump, mistakenly believing the B-25 was directly over Ortner's Airfield. In reality, the plane had drifted nearly 25 miles away, positioning the skydivers directly over Lake Erie instead of the intended landing zone near the airfield. Oblivious to their misplacement, the 17 skydivers exited the plane, plunging through the cloud cover. What awaited them below was not the familiar land of Ohio, but the vast, choppy waters of Lake Erie. Witnesses on the ground described the skydivers descending in a straight line, as though their landing in the lake had been orchestrated. Unbeknownst to most, only one diver was equipped with flotation gear. The lake's conditions were far from forgiving, with waves reaching up to 2 feet. Eyewitnesses initially believed a nearby boat would rescue the divers. Unfortunately, no immediate help awaited the skydivers as they hit the icy waters. Struggling with their gear and the shock of landing in the lake, they were left at the mercy of the relentless waves. 2 of the divers managed to cut away their gear and keep afloat, eventually rescued by a passing private fishing boat that turned around upon noticing their distress. Tragically, the rest were not as fortunate. By the end of the day, 2 bodies were recovered, but 15 were still missing, feared dead. The incident triggered an intensive search operation involving more than 400 people. The search effort included over 100 Coast Guardsmen, multiple helicopters, fixed-wing aircraft, and boats. Volunteers from the Red Cross, local police, and underwater recovery units joined forces with Yacht Club members, deploying 19 boats to comb the lake for survivors and bodies. The search was nothing short of exhaustive, covering approximately 105 square miles of Lake Erie. Despite the best efforts of search and rescue teams, the challenges were immense. High waves, cold water, and the expansive search area complicated the mission. The Coast Guard Command, led by Lieutenant Thomas Irish, coordinated the operation from Huron before relocating to Cleveland as night fell on Tuesday, August 29th. By September 10th, all but 1 body had been recovered, bringing closure to most of the grieving families. However, the emotional scars left behind by the tragedy were immeasurable. Friends and relatives of the skydivers had waited anxiously at a Red Cross shelter in Huron, clinging to the faint hope that their loved ones would be found alive. Sadly, those hopes were dashed as the days passed. The Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, launched an investigation into the incident, concluding that no charges would be filed. However, the disaster prompted significant changes in sports skydiving regulations, particularly concerning safety measures for jumps over or near large bodies of water. The lack of flotation devices and miscommunication about the jump's location underscored the need for stricter oversight in the sport. The Lake Erie skydiving disaster serves as a sobering reminder of the importance of preparation and communication in high-risk activities. The incident led to a renewed focus on safety protocols in skydiving, including the mandatory use of flotation gear when jumping over water and improved coordination between pilots, ground crews, and radar control. Moreover, the tragedy highlighted the unpredictable nature of the sport and the need for contingencies in the face of unforeseen circumstances. While skydiving remains a thrilling and rewarding activity, the lessons learned from this disaster continue to inform safety practices to this day. The 1967 Lake Erie skydiving disaster remains one of the most devastating events in the history of the sport. The courage and adventurous spirit of those involved are not forgotten, and their story stands as a testament to the importance of safety and vigilance in all pursuits. As we reflect on this tragedy, we honor the memory of those who lost their lives and the resilience of the families and rescuers who faced such a harrowing ordeal. While this story has been recounted many times, each retelling emphasizes the fragility of human endeavors against the unpredictable forces of nature. Those who took part in the jump were seasoned skydivers, well aware of the risks associated with their passion. However, no amount of expertise could have prepared them for the series of unfortunate events that unfolded that day. The skydivers had eagerly anticipated the jump, which promised to be an exhilarating feat from a remarkable altitude. The delay caused by morning cloud cover did little to dampen their spirits. As the skies cleared, the group's excitement mounted, unaware of the miscommunication that would lead to their unintended descent over the lake. For Ted Murphy, the realization that the B-25 bomber had drifted miles off course came too late. Despite his attempts to alert the skydivers, they had already leaped from the aircraft, their fates sealed by the vast expanse of Lake Erie below. The photographs meant to capture a moment of triumph instead documented the beginning of a disaster. On the ground, witnesses watched in confusion as the skydivers descended into the lake. The sight was surreal, with many initially assuming the jumpers had planned to land in the water. However, as the situation became clear, concern turned to alarm. Calls for help were made, and rescue efforts began almost immediately. The two survivors owe their lives to their quick thinking and the intervention of a private fishing boat. By cutting away their gear, they avoided being dragged under the waves, a fate that claimed many of their companions. The fishermen who rescued them acted swiftly, navigating the choppy waters to bring the men aboard and out of harm's way. For the families of the missing, the wait for news was agonizing. The Red Cross shelter in Huron became a hub of activity, with volunteers providing food, blankets, and emotional support to those anxiously awaiting updates. The search efforts were relentless, with personnel working around the clock to recover the missing skydivers and bring closure to their loved ones. As the days passed, hope for additional survivors waned. The recovery of bodies brought some measure of closure, but the pain of loss lingered. The final count revealed the tragic scope of the disaster, with only 2 survivors out of the 17 who had taken part in the jump. In the aftermath, the FAA's investigation focused on the factors that had contributed to the tragedy. The miscommunication between the radar control tower and the B-25 pilot was a critical error, one that underscored the need for clearer protocols and better coordination. Additionally, the absence of flotation devices highlighted a glaring oversight in safety measures for jumps near large bodies of water. The changes that followed the disaster were significant. Regulations were tightened, requiring skydivers to carry flotation gear during jumps over water. Pilots and ground crews were instructed to exercise greater caution and ensure accurate communication to prevent similar incidents. These measures have undoubtedly saved lives in the years since. A small consolation in the wake of such a devastating loss, the Lake Erie skydiving disaster remains a poignant reminder of the risks inherent in adventurous pursuits. While the thrill of skydiving continues to draw enthusiasts from around the world, the lessons learned from this tragedy have helped to make the sport safer for future generations. The memory of those who lost their lives serves as a solemn reminder of the importance of vigilance, preparation, and respect for the forces of nature. In recounting this story, we honor the courage of the skydivers who set out to achieve something extraordinary, and the resilience of the families and rescuers who faced the aftermath with strength and determination. Their legacy lives on in the lessons learned and the improvements made to ensure that such a tragedy is never repeated. The Lake Erie skydiving disaster is not just a story of loss, but also a testament to the human spirit's ability to learn and adapt in the face of adversity. As we remember the events of that fateful day, we are reminded of the fragility of life and the importance of taking every precaution to safeguard it. Through their sacrifice, the skydivers have left an indelible mark on the history of their sport, ensuring that their memory endures in the hearts and minds of all who hear their story.